Welcome to On the Square. My name is Mykal Kafi, and this is a current affair show. So it's going to change. The topic going to change because I did have a guest that had car trouble. So that a previous show was going to be dealing with youth. So I'm going to stay away from that topic. And since I'm going to try to introduce myself, let you know a little bit more about me, since this is the first time I've been on Nutmeg TV. So I'm just going to spend some time talking about myself. Usually I'm talking about everything but myself. But today I'm going to switch up unplanned, because usually this particular guest breaks his neck to make shows. So I didn't think anything was going to happen, because he usually would call and let me know if something came up. So unfortunately, something came up this time. And he works for the YMCA, and he's been doing this all his life, pretty much all his life, helping young people and the community. Now, getting back to this show and myself, again, my name is Mykal Kafi. The subtitle for this show is called Health, Wealth, and Self. So again, the name of the show is On the Square, and I'm going to try to focus, and I might go off a little bit to another topic and mix it up, but I'll try to focus on myself and health, wealth, and self. I feel those are the most important things outside of your family and God. So I got that concept of health, wealth, and self from KRS-One, from Boogie Down Production. He's a rapper that came out in the mid 80s, and he rapped into the 90s, and I don't know when he stopped, but I don't think he's doing it anymore, or if I haven't heard anything from him, lately. But I haven't been listening to too much of rap anyway. But when I was listening to him, that was in the 90s. The three components is self, because you have to have a knowledge of self. You have to know what makes you tick and what's motivating you to succeed in today's society and make achievements and help give back and help other people, help your family, and all those components. Now, wealth is the other component, which you may get it or you may not, but you want to at least be financially secure, so you'll be able to pay your bills, have something on the side for retirement and vacation. So you have self, wealth, and the last one out of the three components is health. Health is very important. A lot of people underestimate health, because if you're chasing money, like most of us are, it sounds like a negative term, but whether you call it making money or getting paid or paying your bills, you're chasing money. And you can't live in this so-called capitalistic society without money. The problem with this is that if your health is declining, or it's you have health issues, you're going to end up having all your money going to the disease care system. So you're just going to be paying for meds and doctor bills. So all the money that you accumulated is going to go to the disease care system. So that's why I said health, wealth, and self is the three components that we all should be striving for, because if you get sick, all the money's going to pay for these doctor's appointments, these treatments, and the prescriptions. So keep that in your mind, that health, wealth, and self is what we're trying to focus on. Now, I usually give shout out, and you might not know these groups, but I give them shout outs because they can be anywhere in the United States, but I give them shout outs, and the viewers might not be aware of them. Some of them you are. So I would like to give a greeting to the Moorish Science Temple. I would like to give a greeting to the Rastafarians. I would like to give a greeting, and my voice is going, and that's unfortunate. The Prince Hall Masons. I also would like to give a shout out to the Nation Islam. I also would like to give a shout out to the Nuwabians. Now, a lot of these groups, or all the groups, is grassroots. Excuse me. So they're not like Black Lives Matter or something like that. It's not a more a collective group, where the groups I gave a shout out is more focused on their particular issues. Like, I give you an example. The Moorish Science Temple is more focused on sovereignty. They're looking more for who you are. They spend a lot of time. Prince Hall Masons are just like other other Mason groups. I don't want to call them a secret society, but they're actually a fraternity. So you get the idea. These groups are focused on certain things, where you might have a group that can cover a lot of different topics. It could be politics, it could be education, it could be a lot of different groups. Now, well, give you a little bit on my background. My background is that I did community organizing activities in my past. But a lot of people in this realm of activism consider you never stop, organizing. But I say the past because I'm less active, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to continue organizing. I'm just less active. That was in the city of Hartford, and there's different kinds of organizers, and the organizing that I was doing dealt with neighborhood organizing. So you get assigned certain streets. So you got this street, this street, this street, this street, this street. You have X amount of streets, and what you do is, if you set up meetings, so you flyer the neighborhood, and you let them know the topics that you think, or they might even call you at your office and say, we got these issues. We got this issue where there's trash. Everywhere you look around, there's just trash everywhere. So that might be their main concern for that particular month, the trash problem on their street. Then I would send out flyers and set up a meeting where we can discuss how we can resolve the trash problem in their neighborhood. Also, what a community organizer does for that neighborhood, we go to a lot of meetings, a ton of meetings. So you go to City Hall, you go to all these different meetings, and you bring information back from the meetings, because a lot of people, they have other things on their plate, like going to work and stuff like that. So they can't really make these meetings. So our job is to go to all the meetings pertaining to streets, and that could be in New Britain, Farmington, West Hartford, Bristol, Newington, any town that have organizers. I'm just saying my background was in Hartford. And so I would go to the Hartford meetings. Like it could be the Board of Education. It could be the policing. It could be, which would be public service. It could be government. It could be all kinds of different meetings that pertain to what's going to happen in your neighborhood or your census tract in that part of the city of Hartford. So I was dealing with the North End. So the North End is Main Street, Albany Avenue, Blue Hills. It's pretty much, and then little bits and pieces on other neighborhoods, but that's the North End is mainly the north part of Hartford. So getting back to individual street meetings. So I have brought up litter. That could be a problem for a particular street. Also, crime. That could be a problem for a particular street. Speeding. Cars speeding up and down, your particular street. That can be a problem. So either you notice this by walking the neighborhood, or they call you and say, we have a speeding problem, or you figure out the problems in Hartford might be the problem in the North End too. It's not necessarily like you're just because you're in this section of a city doesn't mean this section of the city doesn't have the same problem. So you kind of figure out they have a similar problem over here, and then you flyer the residents for that meeting. So you have those issues, or you have the issues where they're calling you and saying, we got this problem, we would like you to address it. Or they just want to be updated on what's going on in the city because they're having other personal things like work and stuff that they have to do. So we set up the meeting. We try to, not all meetings have food and all that stuff, but we try to have some kind of snack, some kind of food. We also tried to get the residents involved with participating in the meetings, like somebody take minutes of the meeting, and things of that. So you're trying to have them participate in your organizing. And then you also have people that their husband or other factors are taking care of their financial, so they have some little bit of time that they will help you get information, go to the library, go to meetings, government meetings and all that stuff. That's a blessing when you have the residents helping you get the information and helping you prepare for these meetings, because you can also have and to be fair, you have like churches get involved. So it's not always the individual resident, but you do have other groups in that neighborhood, they might get involved. So we had a lot of other institutes like churches that provide our space or even help with the meetings. So, and it can get real tense because some of the problems is not as laid back as garbage. Some of it could be a serious crime problem on that particular street, noise issue, and things that aggravate. You know, you got to go to work in the morning, and somebody's playing loud music, or the cars are driving by blasting their music, waking people up. Well, not even waking people, but disturbing them. So they can get aggravated. So some of these meetings can get a little rough. And then we also, with organizing, we try to not always dwell on terrible things or negative things. So you try to provide activities for these residents' children or teenagers and stuff. So you provide activities like going to, we've gone to the theaters like Hartford Stage Company, those locations, so you can watch plays. You have cookouts, which are maybe for a particular street. So you pick this street and you have a cookout for this particular street. Then you go on over to another street another time, have a cookout for that street. Every once in a while, you have block parties, which is a little bit more expensive than a cookout, because now you're providing entertainment. And so you would need a stage, and the city of Hartford would provide that stage and bring that stage onto that street. And then you have performances and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more complex than just having some grills and then you're just cooking up a lot of food for people and then playing some music for their enjoyment and stuff. And then I can't really remember if we went on movies and stuff like that, or what's other activities like amusement parks and things of that nature, because that was a long time ago. I always remember like cookouts and block parties and things like that. But when it comes to the other things like movies and stuff, I don't remember if we did a lot of that activities. But we did activities for young people and teenagers to try to get them active in some positive stuff. Because I remember when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of activities because other issues interfered with those activities. So on the street that I grew up in the North End. Because the school was up the street, they had basketball courts up the street. And then also Keeney Park wasn't that far from where I lived. So I had 2 courts that I could go to play basketball. And also in Keeney Park, you have a swimming pool. I used to complain constantly to the city and the school system. With the school system, the school courts, the basketball rims would always be torn down. So what you had was older people, because we're talking about I'm like in middle school and stuff like that. Older kids would come, well, they're not necessarily kids, but older individuals would they'll jump on the rim and do this and then pull down the rim. And I would go to the principals, and the principal would tell me that it's just too expensive to keep fixing the rims for us to play. And I'm like, why, if we have courts in our neighborhood, why we have to go to other places to play basketball? Why we gotta go to other towns? We used to go to Bloomfield, we used to go to West Hartford, sometimes Windsor, and then sometimes other places in Hartford just to play basketball when we got courts right up the street. But that was a problem. Then 2, I would complain to the city because the city have courts in the Keeney Park, but they also have lights. So if you're going to school or you're going to work, the only time you could play there if you have some lights, and they would never. And I understand that the park have a certain time where they close, but to us, to being young, you're looking for activities. You're looking for swimming. You're looking for playing basketball, and you're looking for other activities. We also went to camp, and the camp that I went to was outside of Hartford. So it wasn't no, I didn't go to any camp, current, or any of those individuals. So I went to distant camps, and I don't even remember the name, but when I was younger. So all that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because you kind of want to be with your friends and you want to be in your neighborhood. You're not always going somewhere far just to have an activity. So I complained to the city to turn on the lights at the evening, but that never worked out. The school courts never worked out and stuff like that. So you try to be providing activities, positive activities for the neighborhood. Like one of the things that I did try to do was to try to have some playgrounds in the neighborhood. So you have some streets had areas where they had vacant lots. So I would try to advocate for that area to have the city build a playscape in that area, because you have some mothers that are stay-home moms. So instead of going all the way to Keeney Park, to the playground, or Elizabeth Park or Keeney Park or any other park, you can have a playground in your neighborhood. So I met with a lot of resistance trying to get that accomplished. So I was never successful with getting playgrounds for some of these streets. Other things that I tried to do was get speed bumps. And at the time, I don't even think they called them speed bumps at that time. But it pertains to having an elevated part of the street. So when cars go over, they have to slow down or damage their vehicles. What I did see was other areas of Hartford that got those speed bumps, for lack of a better term, to slow down the traffic coming down. Now, to be fair, they had one section, and this was yesteryear. We're not talking about now, but this was yesteryear. You had one near, I can't remember that area. I want to say Waverly. The Waverly area, the school and park area had a speed bump in the north end, but that was the only one that I knew of in the north end at that time. But I did know of other ones in other parts of Hartford, but we only had one in the north end. So a lot of the residents were mad about that situation. Why do other areas have it and they don't have it? So those are the things that you run into when you're a community organizer. And also, just to remind you that there's multiple organizing. So everything is not always community organizing. You have something called issue organizing. So you're just dealing with a particular issue and you want to get rid of that particular issue. So you have different kinds of organizing, but that's community organizing, what I was doing. One thing that I complained about was that when you had meetings in your designated area, when it comes to drug selling in the area, you have standing room only for those meetings. So if I have a meeting to deal with trash or a playground or speeding or any of those other topics, you might have a few people at that meeting. But if you have a meeting with the police for drug selling, you got to find chairs. There's never enough chairs for that meeting. You have people outside. That's how crowded it would be and stuff. The things I would complain that it wasn't an effective meeting because you're trying to address drug selling for that particular neighborhood. But as an organizer, you also know that in that same neighborhood that you're trying to address the drug selling, you have individuals that live on that street that's selling drugs. So they will come to that meeting to get the information to see the strategy you're going to use against them. So that became a situation because you can't have a situation like if you're playing a sport and you can't let the other team know what you're trying to do to win the game. So they'll be prepared to counter that tactic. So that's one of the biggest problems we had was when we had these meetings to try address people selling drugs. There's people that were selling drugs in the meeting and listening to the strategy that we're trying to apply. So it was a lot of hit and miss. We had some success and we had a lot of failures. Tough to be an organizer because an organizer is almost similar to be like a politician. Not because you come around when it's the election. I'm not talking about that. But what you're trying to not make promises, but you kind of have to make promises for them to buy in. And then you're saying, well, we're gonna be on it and make improvements. And people don't see the improvements, so they don't want to hear what you have to say, and they don't want to come to the meetings. And they don't want to get their hands dirty to try to address those problems on their particular streets. So it gets tough because you're trying to rally the troops, and the troops have no belief in you in a lot of situations. And my thing also, when I looked at other, I don't know if I should say, but when you look at other situations with organizing, you had the city of Hartford, and I'm pretty sure it goes to other places that have funded groups that's trying to make that area where people are living more safe and functional and have things to do that's beneficial to the people that live there. I always would say to other organizers, I'm like, the city is funding you to make corrections against the city. I can't see how is gonna help, because the city knows what the problems are, and you're trying to correct it with the help of the people, and that's going against the city. And I can't see the city putting their heart and soul into trying to correct the problem, because problems and chaos is profitable. That's it. Problems make money. That means you got to pay police overtime because you got problems and things of that nature without getting into details. So for them to really eradicate that problem, it's not feasible. And I know that sounds very negative, but it's realistic. I mean, that's what social work is all about. If you study the history of social work is to look at problems that people have in the neighborhood and try to reduce those problems, and then take resources and go to the next problem. So there's always a next problem. So they just keep going. So if you solve problems, then what's left? So it's in your nature to keep chaos and problems going on, because you make money off of that. You know, look at the homeless situation. You're never going to solve the homeless situation because the system is not built to solve these problems. Because what you have to do is have everybody put in their resources into dealing with the homeless. That means that this problem over here doesn't get funded. This problem over here don't get funded. This problem over here don't get funded. Because you need all those personnel, and you need all that money to go into this problem, to reduce it to the point where it looks like it's not a problem anymore. I'm not saying eradicate homeless, because that's impossible, but you can reduce it to the point where it don't look like too many people are putting up tents and living on the side of the street or in the woods. So the minute you lower the level of individuals and homeless, then you have the people that are starving. So now you need to get resources and to help people they're starving, they're hungry, they need food. Then from there, you gotta go and find resources to get somebody trained to get marketable skills to fill these jobs. And then from there, you got to take that resource to go over here to treat people that's on addiction, all kinds of addiction. It don't have to be drug addictions, but all kinds of addictions. You see where I'm going with that? It's all these different problems, and all these resources are being pulled. So there's never enough attention for that particular problem to get dealt with. Because you got this problem here, problem here. And all the time, the human resources and the money are all being pulled multiple directions. So that's what I had to deal with organizing and dealing with street level situations. Now, after I left organizing, well, part of organizing led me to go into behavioral health. And a lot of the behavioral health was very similar to organizing, not on a macro level, but on a micro level. So you're dealing with an individual that needs positive reinforcements and activities to take them away from typical situations that give you a hormone rush, but not necessarily beneficial activities. So with behavioral health, I did a lot of different things in behavioral health, and I also did mentoring. Now with mentoring and direct care worker, I also was involved in case management, and then also was involved with assessments. So now I kind of talked about a little bit. DCF joined forces with juvenile justice. They formed a partnership, and they tried to provide wraparound services for youth to try to have them have a positive course to change their situation. Now, I didn't make a lot of friends in that because I kept addressing the problems that nobody wanted to address. Because while I was with that program, you had to commit a crime to get services. I'm saying, why you got to commit a crime to get services? And they would say there's no money in prevention. So I will always run into these walls and barriers when dealing with this system. And sometimes when I'm looking at these systems, I'm saying to myself, if this problem goes away, then people are going to be out of a job. And that's the problem. So you got people that don't want solutions because they're going to be out of a job. And that's why I try to tell people that's the whole purpose of social work. Is social work. A social worker understand that when this problem is not eliminated, but is at a low level, they move on to the next problem. But how the system have it set up, these problems are supposed to be here all the time. Homeless people are supposed to be here all the time. People that are hungry are supposed to be here all the time. The people don't have any jobs is supposed to be here all the time. So if you bring it to a level that's so low, people are going to lose their jobs. So you don't want that. So you want to keep the chaos and the problems going on. And that's simple. I'm simplifying it without getting real complicated and put you asleep to tell you the real truth about all these situations. But if you study the history of social work, that's what they tried to address. But when you look at, say, the conservatives, the Republicans, they feel social science is oppressive studies, meaning that it doesn't really help. You know, I'm getting into politics, but just to show you that social science does help. You just have to put the time and the money into it to see the benefits of it. And the problem is a lot of the money is taxpayer money. And some people look at their paycheck and say, over 40% of my paycheck is going to taxes and it should be going to me. So I don't want to help anybody. I want to help myself. Give me my money. That's a conservative or libertarian perspective. But we're all in the same boat. My issue is if somebody's suffering and struggling, how am I going to walk by you and you're in this predicament? You know, because a lot of crime is economics. It's not because you're a savage or you're mentally ill. It's economics. You want what other people want. And it's easy to say, work for it or pull yourself from your own bootstraps. But I know plenty of people that never pulled themselves up from their own bootstraps. So we're talking about favoritism. We're talking about nepotism. We're talking about hookups, all that kind of stuff. So people can see that. People can see that. Now, going back to behavioral health, we did some mentoring, but a lot of the funding got cut off because some people didn't think mentoring was effective. As a mentor, what our complaint is, I understand what the administration complaint is. That the stuff that those young people need from us, they're not getting the way they should get it. What our complaint is, we need money. They allocate a certain amount of money to you to spend time with this young person. What a lot of people don't know, we come out of our own paycheck and spend our own money that is not refundable to make that young person feel that they had a great day, a positive day with their mentor. Because what happens is it get hard to figure out different things that that young person want to do. Just because you have an idea for them to do for today or Friday or Saturday or whatever day your appointment is, doesn't mean that young person want to do it. Or two, you don't want to go to the movies every week. That's not going to help that young person grow his social skills and other things that is needed for his development. So you don't want to be doing the same thing every week. And some of the stuff that you might want is not in the budget for you to help that young person to develop socially. And your job is not going to give you that money that you think is necessary for that young person to develop. So that's a problem with the mentoring problem. I mean, that's not the only problem. On the administration side, they felt that some of the mentors were using the young people for personal chores, personal things. So it kind of helped them, but it's more helping you. So that was problematic. So that was an issue. So they really cut off the funding for mentorship. Now, with direct care, that was tough because you have residential, which they frown on, and you had group homes, which they frown on. Then you have therapeutic foster care and stuff like this. Is specialized housing and trying to get that young person into a therapeutic foster care. And there's problems too, because what you have is a lot of young people. What you had is a lot of young people that want to do what they want to do. So they feel that the person that's taking care of them, they're not their moms, they're not their fathers, and they should be able to do what they want to do. That becomes problematic because you're not trying to control them, but you're trying to steer them into some positive situations, like going to school to get not only going to school but get good grades, not only get good grades but get good grades in disciplines that's going to help you when you get out of school. See, a lot of people, especially like the Republicans, they talk about schoolers indoctrinating centers. Well, a lot of people don't realize that to get out of high school, there's a certain amount of classes you have to take to get out of high school, which is different from a certain amount of classes you have to take to go to college. So to graduate is different from going to the college. So you're taking two different course loads. So the course load to get out of high school is easier than a course load to go to college. And people don't realize that. Once somebody figure out, all I need to take this and this and this to get out of high school, versus I got to do this and this to go to college. Like take, for instance, you got to take at least 3 years of math to go to college. And one of those is algebra. You got to take language to go to college and stuff like that. So you got a bunch of courses that you got to take. You want to graduate out of high school, you don't, and I'm talking back in the days. I don't know the curriculum now, right now. It's probably much harder now. But back in the days, all you had to take was one math course to graduate it from high school. So, but to get into college, you got to take three math courses to go to college. So that's the difference. So it's not necessarily an indoctrination center like the Republicans want you to believe. But you can allow yourself to be indoctrinated. It's easy. You just listen to the teacher and don't ask any questions. So there's elements of that in your school system. But pretty much a typical school kind of teach you the basics, and some of the stuff gets cut out of the curriculum and get watered down. So that's a problem. Like civics. And again, I'm talking the 90s, the 80s, all that. Back then, you had things that might have improved now in the 2020s with the school system. And of course, the teachers union, it's a little problem, not to sound like a conservative, but it's tough to get good teachers to teach. So that's a problem in itself. But getting back to behavioral health, we didn't touch on assessment. An assessment is a bunch of tests that you take, and what they do with these different tests, they come up with a plan, a wraparound programs that they see through your testing that these are the things that you're strong at and you like. Once they see things that you like and you're strong in, they come up with these, we have to investigate programs. Like if we know that you like arts, so we look all over the state of Connecticut for great art programs and incorporate that in your personal plans for you to be successful, in our view, to do better. Because if you're going to school and the art program is lousy, you're probably not giving 100% in the things that you're trying to do. So we try to wrap around services that will help you feel like you're a part of the process and you're learning something and you're good at it, and that's going to eventually give you a marketable skill and keep you out of trouble. So, so that's part of the assessment piece. Of course, I always get in trouble because I always say stuff that they don't want to hear. Like I said that, why does somebody have to commit a crime to get these programs? Got in trouble for that. Why I hear there's always, I'm going to use the term non-white, and we can have a show on that. This color thing is social construct. But let's not talk about it right now. But non-whites, you keep hearing, I'm talking about being in the industry. When I was in the industry, you keep hearing all these non-whites are in juvenile. So they're getting arrested and they're in juvenile detention. But when we come in to test them for the assessment, I don't see non-whites. I don't see non-whites getting tested. So where's the data saying all these non-whites are filled up in juvenile detention? Bring that up, I get in trouble. So I just see things. I'm just observant, see these stuff, bring it up. Next thing I know, they told me stop going to the meetings. So what they were trying to do previously was have the low-level people, or the what's a better term for low-level people? Not even entry level. The people on the grassroots, that's the best term, that's interacting with the target market, that's seeing what's really going on. They're not in the ivory towers theorizing and making things up. When they bring that information, that's what the meeting was. I'm not talking about the meetings with the adolescents. I'm talking about the meetings with the decision makers. It was once a month, if my memory is correct, it was once a month we met with the decision makers. And when I brought up, they told us that when you bring up stuff that they can't see because they're so far removed from the situation, bringing it to their attention so they have more realistic situations that they can work towards solving the problem. When I brought those issues up, they got upset. A matter of fact, they didn't even want me to even participate. So I stopped being included in those meetings. But I gave you a little touch on behavior health, gave you a little touch on organizing, gave you a little touch on just working on a grass level with people in the neighborhoods and stuff. And that's my background. So I'm glad that y'all spent this time listening to and watching what I had to say. Hopefully you keep tuning in. And it's tough talking about yourself, and I left some stuff out because of, I'm on the clock. But we will be talking about topics that you do want to hear about, like the election, about global warming, about jobs, about your health, things of that nature, and just how to make money, how to be a better mom and dad, things of that nature. So stay tuned, take this journey with me, and let's get some good information to you guys.
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lim.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name is Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the clips with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.
we think of an iconic New England town green, we think of the place where people got together and maybe heard some music, heard someone give a speech, maybe get an award. Times have changed, but the digital town green still brings all those stories, all those voices back to a central location. Nutmeg TV has been providing community television for over 30 years. We provide great facilities and training and equipment to allow anyone to come in and produce TV programming for the community.
Whether you're a college student looking to get into this industry or a senior citizen looking to learn a new skill set, we've made our equipment accessible to anybody.
Nutmeg TV is a family, and we embrace diversity, and we work with folks from all walks of life. And it's our job to make these studios available for anyone to use. We educate folks in how to do TV production, podcasting, etc., and so they can go on to other careers in the TV business. Nutmeg TV is really blessed to have a great group of folks who work here. We have a culture at Nutmeg TV that is set from the moment you walk in the door for positivity all day long. Each and every day, we are affecting the community in which we live. We needed some studio upgrades, and we were able to get a grant with the state of Connecticut, but we needed that extra bit of cash in order to get over the hump. As you know, technology is very costly, and we needed to do that. And Ion Bank believed in us. They believed in us, they believed in the project. They came down, they took a look at what we needed, and they said, you know what, we can help get you the rest of the way. As a result of Ion Bank's financial help, we've been able to help others move on in a field that's difficult to get experience in. It's very important when you're a business that works in the community and for the community that you're working with partners who understand who you are. And Ion Bank does that. They walk with us every day. Community is important, and Ion gets community, and they get Nutmeg TV. It's community banking at its best.
The water's warm at Jaws Pond, and we're stocked full of treasures. Big or small, we buy it all. We buy and sell fast rides, power tools, vintage guitars, and so much more. Walk the plank in style with our fine jewelry, diamonds, and watches. Plus, we have a huge selection of the latest video games, including the new PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Jaws Pond, conveniently located on Meriden Waterbury Turnpike in Southington and West Main Street in New Britain.